And now,
ladies and gentlemen,
please fasten your seatbelts.
Welcome to PreneurCast.
You know, business cards being swapped, beers being drunk.
Can I say a nasty word? Can I say procrastination?
With Pete Williams and Don Gosher.
How well did that go down?
We can talk about that entire thing in a very another rant and soapbox episode if we want to.
Visit us online at PreneurMarketing.com.
Hey, buddy.
Hey, big fella, how are you?
Very good, very good.
Good.
A little bit warm.
A little bit hot over your way.
Yeah, sorry about that. I know you guys are sat there with your like woolly hats and mittens on.
This is very true. Very, very true. All good, though. All good.
Yeah. For those of you at home who aren't particularly aware, I live about 100 yards from the sea on the Spanish coast. And, well, Pete doesn't, basically.
Yeah, just rub that in, mate. Rub it in. It's all good. It's all good.
Sorry, hey, dude, you've just been to Bali. Well, eventually, I guess.
True. How are you this week, mate? How's things been?
Good. The heat is really causing a few difficulties. I'm having to change my working day around and sleep in the middle of the day, which doesn't hurt, as most of my clients are Australian, so I'm actually awake when you guys are now.
That works very well. Very handy.
Yeah, very handy.
Very cool.
The consummate outsourcer. So how about you?
Good, mate. I've been doing a lot of research this week.
Research?
Yeah.
Ooh, sounds interesting.
Yeah, about Abraham Lincoln. Do you know he was the tallest of all US presidents at 6'4".
Was that with or without the silly hat?
That's without the hat.
Wow.
He was 8 feet with the hat.
Wow. Any particular reason you're researching Abraham Lincoln?
Well, it just interests me when I spoke of him last episode. Very
well done. Very well
see,
done.
I subtly just snuck it in there, just, off the cuff, by the by.
That was quite a good show-to-show segue. Look at you.
Did you know he also painted a system to alter the buoyancy of steamboats in 1849?
I'm trying to think if I did. I know he has some very he was one of the great achievers, wasn't he?
Well, but he was also one of the great failures too, as we spoke of last episode.
As we did, but that was the focus of the episode, was the whole failure side of thing.
Yeah.
But he was at the same time an amazing producer and whatever of so many different things. But I didn't know particularly about the steamboat buoyancy thing.
He also got shot in the head.
Didn't seem to affect him that much.
Well, he did. He died from it. And then, but also, JFK also got shot in the head with one bullet. Both got shot on what day of the week? Can you tell me that? What day of the week were they both shot?
No, sorry.
It was a Friday.
Okay. We're not going to go whole conspiracy theory thing here.
Well, look, whoa, if you want to go conspiracy theory, do you know they were elected to Congress 100 years apart exactly? Lincoln was 1846, Kennedy was 1946. Plus, Lincoln's successor, President Johnson, was born in 1808. What was the surname of the person who succeeded Kennedy?
I'm going to play along and guess Johnson.
What year was he born?
Don't.
1908. 100 years later. How's that for fact?
You are a mine of useful information,
I told you
sir.
I did a lot of research this week.
That's all right.
That Google thing works.
If I didn't know you, I would at this point ask you how you fit it all in. But I do know you, and I know how you fit it all in, which we talk about on a semi-regular basis.
This is the greatest work. Let me share with you the greatest work hack ever. Google.com.
Now, you see, there's a double-edged sword. Because yes, it's a great work hack, but it's also a great time sink.
See, stumble upon, that's a time sink.
Oh, no. I've had to, just not use that at all.
Good fun, though.
Stumble upon is like a slightly more legitimate version of lolcats, really.
Do you know what we should do? We should start a drinking game with Stumble Upon. Every time it comes up, a cartoon pops up, you got to drink.
Excellent.
That could be fun.
Excellent.
And they played over Skype with people so you can watch them as well. You share screens.
Very good. Very good.
I reckon we should start something with that.
You're in party mode.
Yeah, I am.
You're in party
It's
mode.
Thursday night here. I'm letting loose.
Ooh. Well, how about I be the party pooper because it's lunchtime here, and I'm still at work.
Isn't that bedtime for you now? Now?
Well, technically, yeah, you're keeping me up.
Yeah.
So we're equal on that one.
All right, let's get to some business. Let's cut to the chase.
Let's get some not boring business stuff, but let's go back to some business stuff because we were talking about how you fit everything in, and you've been away, you've been to Bali, you've had proper time off. We've talked about this in the last couple of shows. You've managed to publish a book.
Yes, not the book we've been speaking about though.
Not the book.
The book.
No. But you've managed to publish a book.
So how's that? I've procrastinated and produced a book in my procrastination.
You are that good.
Yes.
Yeah, I mean that's the power of leverage, isn't it?
Well, it is. Yeah. So we may as well talk about the book, and I guess, and give it some context. It's It's called Media Strategies for Internet Marketers, and it's just all about how to actually use the real-world media to grow your internet-based business, whether you've got an e-commerce site or an information marketing business, whatever it might be. So that's the topic of the book, and it's very exciting. It's the first thing I've really gone and fully self-published and going down the path of seeing how self-publishing on the Kindle works and self-publishing printed books to Amazon as well. So we're going through that process, and it's also a bit of a testing ground as well for when the new book comes out. Obviously, that's through a real publisher, but we're going to have quite a bit of impact into marketing it and working out what works on Amazon and all that sort of stuff. So I thought this is a great stepping stone as well to sort of iron out all the bugs and get the team knowing their way around it and how to actually start to market a book online and what sticks and what doesn't stick and get that flow going before we actually hit it with the full steam engines of our buoyant steamboat, thanks to Lincoln, when the real book comes out.
Now, of course, I should do the consummate interviewer piece, and I should say, so where is this book available, Pete?
Well, Amazon.com. Amazon.com. So literally, it's on Amazon, so it's available on Kindle. You can buy the print book. It's also available on the Nook through Barnes & Noble. It's going to be available very soon on the Sony e-reader and a few other places as well. So we've basically gone to as many places we can basically syndicate this out. And it's pretty much available everywhere right now. And there will be an audiobook available on Audible shortly too. So we're doing everything we can to get this book in as many places as we can, so we can not only deliver some good content to people, but actually have a way to test some book marketing.
Cool. Now, there's two directions to take this conversation, and both of them are very interesting, certainly to me. The first one is, you've published a book. I mean, wow, that's like, zero to hero. I know that this topic, this marketing, the online offline marketing, is one of your pet topics and something that you do personally in your own businesses and for yourself as an individual, and you do it very well. And I've seen, it was probably the first topic I saw you present on. But knowing about something and actually writing a book about it are two different things. I mean, how did you pull that off? To do that in the background. I mean, is there any? I mean, not a big speech on it, but how did you leverage the systems and techniques and things that you know to bring that about? Yeah,
no, fair question, and I'll let a couple of cats out of the bag. I took the Gary Vaynerchuk approach to book writing and got a ghostwriter fundamentally to make this book happen. So obviously, for those who have been playing along at home for a while will know about goinganalog.com and a program that I've got to help people use offline marketing of all formats to help grow their business, whether it might be media or direct mail and all that sort of stuff. So fundamentally, I had a lot of content already out there about this topic from that program and various bits and pieces and presentations that I've done. So I got all that content there, and passed it over to a great ghostwriter by the name of Natalie. And we caught up for breakfast quite a few times over a few months, where she fundamentally took all that content that was already there and cleaned it up, made it coherent, took out all the ums and made it flow as a book. And then we went back and forth quite a few times to refine it. So there's a lot of fresh content in here that wasn't already available in the higher priced programs and things like that. But that was fundamentally how this book came to be, is we worked together to get the content right, and then passed it over to my internal team to actually do the layout, the design, and get into the right formats for the various different mediums. So obviously the print-ready version, the PDF version, the PDP version, the Mobi version, the EPUB version, the everything else version that is needed these days to be able to syndicate your books across all the platforms. So it was a very, very cool process. And it's one that I think is very replicatable these days as well. If you have some content already out there, it's quite easy to find someone who is more of an editor than a writer in this sort of instance. Obviously, with the book that the big book, the main book, it's not about the product book, that is being written word from word, fundamentally from scratch primarily. And that's a lot more of my blood, sweat, and tears into that, as opposed to this book where it's all my content. It's just have been cleaned up and put together by Natalie.
That is pretty awesome. I mean, to have to take that content that you've pretty much already generated. I mean, you know, you and I work together from a production point of view on Going Analog. I helped you produce Going Analog. The content, it's predominantly video based content on Going Analog. So I can vouch for how much effort you put into producing that and the quality of the product and things like that. But even so, even though you've got the content, a lot of people in this situation, as you say, they've got all this great content in one format or another, whether it's blog posts, videos, a course, whatever. But the idea of sitting down and moving it across to another format sometimes is a bit daunting. So, yeah, I think it's the ghostwriter idea is great. If you can find a person that's got that skill, and you clearly have got a good one. I mean, I've gone through the book. I've had a bit of a read through it, and it's great how you've translated the stuff, and it works in print as well as it works on in the videos as well. And as you say, you put some new stuff in there. But the other side of this, I guess, is that technology thing. I mean, a lot of people are like, okay, all right, so I've got this content as a book, but you know, physically getting it out, self-publishing a physical book, just seems like, you know, scares most ordinary, inverted commas, ordinary people. Let alone the idea of, as you listed all the different formats to try and get this thing out as on the Kindles and the Nooks and the Sony e-readers and all the rest of those ever decreasing popular ebook readers. I mean, how did you use services to do some of that? You know, have you got any kind of input about how you got over that part of it?
Yeah, well, absolutely. It was all about just using services that already exist out there if you know where you're looking. So there's a great service called createspace.com, which is owned by Amazon, and it's a on-demand printing and publishing service. So they will take your book in a PDF format with certain rules and restrictions and guidelines and all that obvious sort of stuff, and they'll put it together as a print-ready book for you. And then they'll send you a copy of the book and you can feel it, touch it, smell it, and all that sort of stuff. And then once you've approved that, they'll go and list that on Amazon. So it'll be available to purchase on Amazon. And you can pay, there's a couple of different levels of payment fees. You can pay one that is shown as being published by Lulu, or you can, not Lulu, CreateSpace, or you can pay a slight premium and you get your own ISBN number and your own imprint and all that sort of stuff, which is where I've got to, because I've got quite a few other books I want to publish through them over the next 12 to 18 months. And they will take that whole scenario for you. And then when someone purchases the book, they'll print it and ship it on demand. So it fundamentally works out about the same profit margin, a little bit better than traditional publishing, because you are not having to actually pay the whole books in stock. So you're not getting volume discounts from a printer, but it means you don't have to hold stock, which is a bonus. So if it's about syndication and that's what you're trying to do, and that's your aim with some back end in mind of whether it's higher end products or just to use it as a business card, whatever it might be. There is some profit to be made for sure in the physical books that are printed. But there's also other services through Amazon. They've got the Kindle store, and anyone can just go and get an account and submit, again, PDFs as well, but in a certain format or EPUB formats. And there's a couple of different ways you can do that, and then submit that through Amazon, and they'll make it available on the Kindle store. And there's some good margins in that because there is no actual printing of the book because it's all electronic. So there's some reasonable margins there. And then Barnes & Noble have a similar service as well. And then there's an array of other services out there that will help distribute and syndicate your content to other platforms. So there's ways to get onto iTunes and Audible and Amazon Audio, and then you've got EPUB readers and all that sort of stuff. So there's plenty of platforms out there that will help you as a distribution for publishing, and it's a really interesting world, and I think it's a very potentially profitable world. It's a very good world for positioning in your marketplace. Even if you are a local plumber, for example, you could write a book on the top 10 things or the top 34 tips for keeping your pipes clean, or whatever plumbers do. Hairdressing, you can sort of do a book on hairdressing styles. It's very, very easy now to become a published author. And then that just really sets you apart from your competition from a positioning perspective, from a way to use it as a tool to help close sales by giving a copy of your book or just mention it as part of your sales funnel. It's a really great way to position yourself to increase the bottom line of your business in numerous ways. And we can talk about that at some point, whether it's this episode or another episode, of why you should be publishing premium content. And this is what I class as premium content.
Cool. I mean, that's in a way there, and this is really helpful because this is where I wanted to go. In a way, you've started to talk about some of the things that you talk about in your book.
Well, yeah, I guess it comes down to the book itself is sort of broken into two main sections, all relating to media. And the first section talks about how to actually use publicity and get exposure as the expert. So you're the actual person getting interviewed in the media, and you're giving your commentary on the industry or a particular topic and all that sort of stuff. And then there's the second part of the book, which is about the syndication sort of stuff, which is kind of what I've touched on already, where you actually are being the content. So rather than providing the content, you're being the content. And in providing the content, where you're providing the content, you are then actually writing the article in that magazine, in that trade journal, and you are the author, so to speak. You are that journalist. And it's about taking content potentially that you've already written and published on your blog that has got some great content and a lot of viral conversation, a lot of social conversation around it, and taking that to the publishers of real world magazines and saying, hey, I've got this article that is perfect for your demographic. It's already been retweeted 120 times. It's got 500 comments. It's been read by 3,000 people, or whatever stats you can pull. And the magazine journalists and editors are going to jump all over that because they want engaging, enriched content. And if it's already proven, they'll definitely take that and later syndicate that. And then again, it's about positioning yourself as the expert because you are the journalist in that aspect.
Cool. And I mean, one thing I know from the Going Analog course that you produced, and that's gone over and the content that's gone into this book. Again, you're talking about something that, in theory, it sounds like a really good idea. Oh yeah, I could, get an article in a magazine. I could be published in a magazine, or be interviewed for this or that or the other. And then some people will just stop dead at that point and go, yeah, but how do you do that? And I think one of the important things about the book, it's not a book of you could do this. It's more a book of you could do this, and by the way, here's how. Because you do include the strategies of how you go about doing this stuff, yeah? Absolutely.
This is something that really annoys me with a lot of sort of, I'll categorize them as information marketers, is probably for want of a better term, is that there's a process to, I guess, marketing information or teaching or communicating or writing a book or anything like that. And there's the why, the what, and the how. So there's the why you want to do something. And I might as well use this as an example as I talk about the why, what, how process. And it'll get to where I think you were going, Dom, is that the reason why you want to do with some of this offline marketing, if you're an internet marketer, is twofold. Is one, it's going to get you new traffic, because if you think about it, someone who loves vintage guitars and might be going online and Googling vintage guitars, they live that in their life. They're going to be going to the real world stores. They're going to be buying the guitars. They're going to be subscribed to the magazines. They live that passion. So it's a great way to get to your target market beyond just Google users, because one of the things I really try and hammer home throughout the book is that just because someone has a Gmail account and a Facebook account doesn't mean they use the internet. Doesn't mean they're going to be going to Google and actually searching for the stuff you might be selling. There's plenty of people out there who do, but you're leaving a lot of your target market on the table by not going offline. So it's a great way to actually expand your target market and drive more traffic to your website. And the benefit of that is that a lot of those visitors to your website that are coming from the offline world haven't experienced all of the online marketing techniques like autoresponders and things like that. So the conversion rate of those people has been reported time and time and time again by numerous tests that they convert a lot better than internet-based traffic, because they're not as jaded as internet-based traffic, because internet-based traffic have probably been more familiar with online video and online autoresponders and stuff like that, so they don't convert as well because they're very jaded. And the second thing of why you want to do this is because it's actually going to help you increase all your online conversions, because if you can show on your opt-in page or on your sales page that you've been featured in Guitar Traders Monthly, or you are a regular columnist of Vintage Guitar Guide magazine or whatever it might be, that shows you as an authority, just like writing a book does. And if you can show that and put that as part of your sales letters or your opt-in pages, it time and time again has been shown as well to increase conversion rates and opt-ins. So they're probably the two reasons why you want to do something. So what a lot of people do when they're actually teaching this, if I step back again now and sort of talk about this concept of why, what, how, that's the why. And I could have written an entire book just about why, and just sold the reader on why they want to do this, which is fantastic. And they get motivated and they go, okay, cool, I want to do this. But then they go, okay, now what the heck do I have to do? I know why I want to do this, but what do I do? And that's where most people give you the free report, is the why. You opt in, you get a free report, and they just basically sell you on the why. They don't give you any actual meat, so to speak. But then they say, oh, for $97, I'll show you in a ebook what to do. So that's great. Okay, what to do? So that's the next stage of this. Now, what to do in this context, again, would be, okay, what you want to do is either be the content or provide the content. So to be the content, you want to actually be going out there and writing press releases, getting exposure and getting in front of the journalists who are writing articles in your particular space and that sort of stuff. And then providing the content is you want to take your articles that you've written online and you've written for your blog and they've got a lot of attention and feedback, and take those and submit them to editors of magazines and newspapers and trade journals and get those articles republished in these magazines. So that's the what. So that's all great. People go, now, okay, now I know what to do. I need to go and do some PR, and I need to go and get some syndication of articles. Fantastic. Okay. But then they know, well, how do I do this? Well, how do I, okay, now I know why I want to do it. I know what to do, but how do I do this? And then they go, okay, well, look, most marketers will go, well, realistically, for $797, you always got to end with that 7 on the end, apparently. For $797, I'll teach you you can buy my home study course. This is my 13-part module that shows you exactly how to do everything you need to do. So they basically have sucker punched you all the way through that little pyramid. And again, that there's time and place for that, I guess. And then they go through the how of what you need to how you need to actually go about doing what it is that they sold you on doing 3 steps prior. And that sort of rubs me up the wrong way. So to come back all the way back on to your original point, I guess, is that what I've tried to do in the book is I haven't taken the entire Going Analog program and stuffed it into a book and just sold the why. I've taken just the 2 key focus points I guess in my mind, or the first 2 parts of Going Analog, which is how to be the content, how to provide the content, and broken it down completely. Everything from there's the full press releases there's templates, there's workflows, there's swipe stuff you can actually go and just repurpose and all that sort of stuff. And same with being the content, we've tried to sort of break it all down as much as possible and give you not only the why, but definitely a lot of the how-to, so you can literally just take this book and actually go and do those first 2 steps of using offline media to grow your internet business.
Yeah, and that's exactly what I was getting at, was exactly and your answer was actually better than I was hoping for, because you made the point that I wasn't making, which is so many people, especially people involved in internet marketing based in information marketing, do exactly what you said. Yeah. Oh, here's a free why to entice you to buy my what, to entice you to buy my how. And yeah, as you say, the Going Analog course itself is far bigger in scope than this book, and far more in depth. It costs a lot more than a book. But the great thing about the book is that it does focus on the kind of smaller subjects, the being the content and providing the content. But it does cover the why, the what, and the how. To me, as a potential consumer, that kind of thing's important. And I regularly get disappointed by people that do, the why and the what, or just the why or whatever. And yeah, okay, in some, from a technology point of view, somebody tells me the why and part of the what, very often I can work out the how. But this is real world stuff. And the great thing about this book is it is, as you say, it's for internet marketers trying to reach into the real world, and for all of their strategies of autoresponders and all the rest of that they know how to do, the real world is actually sometimes quite difficult.
Well, I think it's quite scary for a lot of people too, is they think that they go into the world of internet marketing or even blogging. Like, this definitely applies to bloggers too, who just want to sort of write good content. You can definitely use these strategies to expand your brand, or just expand your writing and your audience by taking some of the stuff you've written on your blog and getting it syndicated. And I think it's just really important to think about your business as a business, not as a hobby. And I kind of get on a sort of a soapbox quite often and sort of start ranting and raving that just because you can definitely make a lot of money by solely going and targeting internet-based leads. And this is, the internet traffic as opposed to foot traffic or eyeball traffic that you might get in the real world, so to speak. But you want to make sure that, if Google change your algorithm, that's going to be 90% of your business out the door in a second. And realistically, if you're trying to grow a business and replace your income, you've got to treat it as a business. You can't treat it as a hobby. And it's a big mind shift that a lot of people have to make. And if you actually take time to listen to the interviews with the real successful online marketers, you'll actually find that they use the terms business, not website. Whereas the newer sort of people that they start, it's like, oh, my website makes me this, or my website gets this much traffic, as opposed to my business generates me this much income. My business generates this many new leads every month. My business does this. And as soon as you start thinking about that and treating that and even internalizing that, a big shift will happen, because you start thinking, okay, what is the best ROI for every dollar I spend in my business? Because potentially, and some of the stuff that I've spoken about before, and it's not part of the book, but it relates to this message I'm trying to get through, I guess, is that, in some circumstances, you can go and buy a direct mail list of people who have already spent money in your niche for between 20 cents and $1 a name. These are people who have already opened up their wallet, showing a propensity to spend money on a solution in your niche. Now, what's better value for you? Spending 20 cents a click and getting a 20% opt-in rate? So 1 in 5 people opt in. So that costs you $1 per email address for someone who's wanting a free report. Or spend 25 cents on someone who's actually already spent money in your niche. Yes, with direct mail, you then have to go and spend $1 or so to actually print out a direct mail letter and actually send it to the person. But realistically, what's going to be the better ROI for your business? $1 for an email address of someone wanting a free report, or spending 25 cents and a couple of bucks to mail someone who's already shown their propensity to buy? And I think a lot of people get lured in and sucked into the whole idea of internet marketing because the traffic's free, or the communication platform's free, being email. But that's fine, but is it the best ROI? And that's sort of, I guess, the whole underlying tone of what I try and rant and rave about quite a bit.
Amazingly, that was exactly what I was going to bring out. It's actually in the closing pages of the book. You make that example, as a kind of a forward-looking thing
Well, mate,
about the
after
ROI.
6 or 7 episodes, we should be thinking alike, mate. We should, And it sounds like we actually plan this stuff out too. If we talk about the same thing and head in the same direction, it's good.
We'd be dangerous if we had a plan.
If we treated this podcast as a real business and worked out how we could...
Don't even go there. But I mean the 2 points you just made are exactly the 2 points that I remember most from the first time I saw you present. I remember the kind of sharp intake of breath from the room when you put up the slide that says, "Do you have an internet business?"
Ah, yes, the infamous question.
Yeah.
So, well, that's it. My question was, I guess, is that, and correct me if I'm wrong, Mike. So it's been a while since I spoke about that. Was, do you run an internet marketing business? And majority of the room put up their hand and said, yes, I run an internet marketing business. And I kind of sat there and scratched my head. And what do you guys market the internet? Do you I think actually the question was, do you run an internet business? And they sort of said, yes. And I wrote, well, hang on. To me, the only internet businesses are ISPs, people who actually sell internet services, such as your iNet in Australia or your what's some internet providers in the US, whoever they are. People who are listening would know.
All the telecoms companies, really.
Exactly right. And everyone said, yeah, we're an internet business. And I said, well, realistically, no, you don't, because you're not ISP. So then reframed it as, do you run an internet marketing business? And again, most of the people put up their hands. And I said, what, are you guys SEO companies and consultants? Because internet marketing is helping people market a product online as a service. And I said, what most of you have is a business who's only got one path to market, and that is the internet. Very, very different concept to an internet business, an internet marketing business. Most niche marketers have a business with only one path to market, that's being the internet.
And that really did. I mean, that made a lot of people stop. And it should, because if you are looking at what you do as a business, then that's not a good plan. A business with one path to market, a business with one marketing channel is not a good idea.
No, not at all.
So yeah, I mean, that's what I loved about our presentation. Was the fact that in a room full of internet marketers, instead of saying make the most out of AdWords and you Google this, that, and the other, and all content syndication, online article marketing, blah blah, all the usual stuff, you stood at the front and just said, just the one channel to market. Yeah.
And don't get me wrong, like they're different subsets of the one market. People would say, oh, but I've got AdWords and I do SEO and I do article marketing, I've got affiliates. Well, yeah, but that's just, to me, they're just different segments of the one target market of traffic, which is internet-based traffic. You can do cold calling, you can do telemarketing, you can have a call center, you can do direct mail, you can do print advertising, you can do billboards, there's so many other ways to get traffic to your business. Foot traffic, web traffic, phone traffic, voice traffic, eyeball traffic. There's so many other ways.
Yeah, and I think the other interesting thing about this, and we're getting close to time, but on this topic, just is the point again that you made, that in people that market on the internet have some pretty mad skills. They have the email autoresponder sequences set up and stuff like that. But people that are used to that are pretty much jaded to it. I'm not impressed that somebody gets my name even close in an email these days. In fact, the only time I notice whatever they've put in the to field on an email is if they get it wrong and it says first name fix or whatever it is.
Open square, square bracket, squiggly thing. Yep.
Yeah, that's it. Yeah, curly bracket, this or the other. But as you say, I mean, you've already made the point. But people that aren't used to the online world, people that live most of their time offline, would be really impressed if they got a personalised email. They'd be really impressed if they got a piece of personalised physical mail these days.
Oh, absolutely.
Because physical mail doesn't turn up quite so much. But that's a whole other topic. But yeah, I think, I know I'm slightly biased, but the fact that you managed, stuff the content of the book, the fact that you managed to publish a book while, basically being by a pool in Bali, hat off to you, mate. Hats off to you.
Thank you, mate. Well, definitely this book's taken more than a week to put together. It's taken a couple of months, but realistically, a couple of months of not a lot of my time, and our sort of process worked really well.
Yeah, and I'll just point this one out, and we'll close on this because we're running over. But the dedication in the book, I really like that because you are somebody that does rely very heavily on your team. Yeah, you can't do everything that you do, and you don't even pretend to say that you do it all. You have a lot of outsourcers and people that work directly for you, and we've talked about that in the past when we talked about how you keep your business running. But you put a little dedication in the book. It says, "To my virtual team, you know who you are, and I wouldn't be me without you." It's
true. It's 100% true, and you are definitely one of those team members, mate. Absolutely.
Oh. Thank you kindly, sir. And on that ever so slightly smoke-blowy note, I'll see you next week, mate.
Looking forward to it, mate. Looking forward to it. Do you know that he was also the first president to have a beard?
You've been enjoying another fine episode of PreneurCast with Pete Williams and Dom Gocher. Make sure to hang out with the boys online at www.preneurmarketing.com or drop them a line via PreneurCast@preneurgroup.com.